Have you ever wondered how something so small could hold the power to change everything? A word, a decision, a moment, or even a seed. Picture this: a warm afternoon in Galilee. The sun hangs heavy in the sky, casting long rays of light across the hills. The air is filled with the sound of birds overhead, their wings cutting through the silence, and in the distance you can hear the laughter of children running through the dusty streets. Villagers gather around, their eyes fixed on one man who speaks with a voice both gentle and commanding: Jesus. Crowds press closer, eager for every word. Farmers with soil still on their hands, fishermen with nets slung over their shoulders, mothers with children clutching their robes. Some lean in with hungry hearts, desperate for hope. Others fold their arms, skeptical, waiting to catch him in a mistake. And in this moment, Jesus pauses. His eyes sweep across the crowd, seeing the weary, the doubting, the searching. Then, with a spark of divine simplicity, he begins. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed. The people lean closer. Some frown, puzzled. A mustard seed? Why not a mighty cedar tree, tall and unshakable? Why not the glitter of gold or the power of kings? But Jesus continues. It is the smallest of all seeds. Yet when it grows, it becomes the largest of garden plants, a tree where even the birds of the air come and make their nests. At first, the crowd is silent. A seed? Could the kingdom of God, the dream of generations, the promise of hope, the rescue they've longed for, really be compared to something so small, so ordinary? Imagine holding that seed between your fingertips. It is no bigger than a grain of sand, easy to lose, easy to overlook. Yet within it lies the mystery of growth, of transformation, of potential beyond imagination. Some in the crowd smile knowingly. Farmers nod because they've seen it happen. The mustard seed, though tiny, grows into a sprawling tree with branches strong enough for birds to rest in its shade. They understand, but for others, the meaning sinks slowly, like water into dry ground. And still, Jesus does not explain further. He lets the words linger in the air, a story so simple, yet so profound that it will echo for centuries. Now picture the disciples later that night, sitting by the fire, embers glowing against the dark, their brows furrowed, their minds turning over the parable again and again. One of them whispers, "Why would he compare the kingdom to something so small?" Another answers softly, "Maybe, because that's how it begins." And indeed, isn't that true? The kingdom of God did not come with trumpets or armies. It didn't march into Jerusalem with banners or overthrow Rome with swords. It began quietly, in the heart of one man who loved beyond measure, in the faith of fishermen who left their nets, in the courage of women who believed his words. It began like a seed, small, fragile, almost invisible. But once planted, it grew. Think about it. Faith itself begins like a seed. A single prayer whispered in the dark, a tear shed in surrender, a flicker of hope when everything seems lost. At first it feels too small, too weak to make a difference. But when nurtured, when trusted, when watered with obedience, it grows. And just like the mustard tree, that faith spreads its branches wide. It provides shelter for others. It becomes a refuge, a testimony, a living witness that what started small has become something greater than anyone could have imagined. But here's the tension. The people listening that day wanted power, not patience. They wanted victory, not waiting. They longed for a kingdom that would arrive in glory, crushing their enemies and restoring their nation overnight. And yet Jesus pointed them to a seed. Can you feel the suspense in that moment? The quiet murmur of disappointment, the lingering question, is this really it? A seed? That's all? And still, Jesus smiles, because he knows what they cannot see. He knows the power of beginnings. He knows what happens when faith takes root. Centuries later, we look back and see that he was right. From a small band of disciples grew a movement that spread across nations, outlasting empires, carrying hope to billions. From whispers in Galilee came songs of worship sung in every language. From one crucified man came redemption for the world, all from a seed. Now pause for a moment and think of your own life. What seed has been planted in you? Maybe it feels too small to matter a dream you're afraid to chase, a prayer you've stopped believing in, a step of faith that feels insignificant. But what if that's exactly how the kingdom of God works? What if the miracle begins with something so small you could almost miss it? Imagine the farmer kneeling in the dirt, pressing a tiny seed into the soil. He cannot see what it will become. He cannot predict the storm or the sunshine, the wind or the rain. All he can do is trust. All he can do is wait. And in time, life pushes through the soil, fragile at first, but growing stronger with each passing day. That is faith, trusting that what God has planted will grow even when you can't see it yet. And here's the beauty of it. When that seed grows, it's not just for you. Like the mustard tree offering shade to the birds, your faith becomes a refuge for others. Your story inspires someone else to believe. Your act of kindness plants hope in another's heart. Your quiet prayer ripples across generations. So the parable of the mustard seed is not just about the kingdom of God. It asks about the power of faith, the promise of growth, and the truth that nothing is ever too small for God to use. But here's the challenge. Will you plant your seed? Will you trust that what looks insignificant in your hands can become extraordinary in God's hands? Because faith is not about size, it's about surrender. It is not about what you see now. It is about what God is able to bring forth in time. The crowd that day may not have fully understood. The disciples themselves struggled to believe. But Jesus' words carried a promise that has never failed. The kingdom of heaven may begin like a mustard seed, but it will not end that way. It will grow, it will spread, and it will endure forever. So the next time you feel small, the next time your faith feels weak, the next time your prayer feels unheard, remember the mustard seed. Remember that greatness begins with small things. Remember that your faith, no matter how tiny, has the power to move mountains when placed in God's hands. And now, let me leave you with this. If you had been in that crowd listening to Jesus compare the kingdom of heaven to a mustard seed, what would you have thought? Would you have believed? Or would you have walked away doubting that something so small could ever change the world? So now I ask you, what would you have done in this moment? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear them. And if this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe for more powerful Bible stories and share this video with someone who needs encouragement today.